Bangladesh's military leader was toppled from power. By then, Sheikh Hasina was a national icon. In 1996, she was elected as Prime Minister, but 5 years later, she lost power to Khalida Zia, her chief opponent and the leader of Bangladesh Nationalist Party. What followed was a decade-long power struggle, and it impacted Bangladesh in many ways. There was political unrest, social unrest, and military interventions. It was also a period of turmoil for Hasina. She endured multiple arrests. She survived assassination attempts. She battled corruption charges. But things took a turn in the year 2008. 2008, that's when elections were held again. Hasina secured a landslide victory. By 2009, she was back in power, and she remained there until this morning in power. This was her longest stint as Prime Minister. It lasted for 15 years, and her legacy is a mixed bag. Let's look at the positives first. Obviously, on top of the list is economic progress. Bangladesh is a shining example. In 2007, their GDP was $71 billion. By 2022, it was $460 billion. Bangladesh is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Annual GDP growth has been more than 7%. In the last decade, per capita income has tripled. 25 million people were lifted out of poverty. Bangladesh forayed into high-tech manufacturing. Hasina also unveiled some mega infrastructure projects, including the flagship Padma Bridge. Those are not mean achievements. Her second big win is this: a reign of stability. That's what she achieved. Hasina knew what political turmoil looked like. She'd spent half of her life as a political survivor, so maintaining order was a top priority for her. And she did achieve it. She cracked down on extremists. She steered her country away from trouble. Sheikh Hasina is the world's longest-serving female head of state. You cannot deny Bangladesh's rise on her watch. But you can question her methods to achieve this growth. And that brings us to the negatives. What did she do wrong? Well, Hasina ruled Bangladesh with an iron grip. The opposition was under arrest. Parties were disqualified from contesting elections. Dissent was not tolerated. Institutions were captured. Media was controlled. Her rule took an authoritarian turn, and it became stark in the elections in January this year. Sheikh Hasina won, but she also had no competition. The opposition had boycotted the election. And that brings us to problem number two, the same economy. Bangladesh's economic growth was fueled by one industry, and that is the garment sector. It took a hit during the pandemic. Then inflation skyrocketed. By November last year, it was close to 9.5%, the highest in decades. Foreign debt doubled, foreign exchange reserves dropped. This economic turmoil also led to anti-government sentiment. People blamed Hasina for all of it. Those cries became louder this summer. Dhaka plunged into turmoil over a job quota system because 56% of government jobs in the country were reserved. 56%. So thousands of people took to the streets, mostly students, protesting against this reservation. The Prime Minister called them traitors and terrorists. The protest spread. Last month, Bangladesh's top court scrapped the quota, most of it. So reservation was out. But the protest did not end, because it was no longer about the quotas now. It was about Sheikh Hasina and her government, and the way Hasina responded made it even worse. She remained defiant. She refused to engage and cracked down hard. Hundreds of people died. Many more were arrested. So then what happened today? How did she go from rigidity to resignation? What is it that tipped the scales today? The protest this weekend. That is what made the difference. It was the bloodiest in the country's history, especially yesterday. There were clashes between the police and the protesters. Close to 100 people were killed in a single day. Dhaka announced a nationwide curfew, but within hours, the people were back on the streets. They did not fear bullets anymore, and the military turned against the Prime Minister. They did not want to hold off civilians anymore. This left Sheikh Hasina with no choice, really. She could either flee and save herself or incur the wrath of her people. We all know what she chose, but it's hard to believe that she did not see it coming. In 1990, a student-led uprising ended military rule in Bangladesh, and Hasina was at the forefront of it. That's how she came to power. 3 decades later, Hasina is out of power, courtesy the students again.